All right. Hi to everyone who is joining us. This is another Conversations with Women in Wellness where I get to introduce all of you to a female professional with a heart to serve others and talk a little bit about what it is that they do, who they support, and what resources they may have available for you to explore. I'm Britt Reuter, and I'm a functional medicine nutritionist serving women experiencing gut issues, hormone imbalances, and autoimmunity. I run an online virtual clinic from my home here in the Boston area. And if you want to learn more about me and what it is that I do, you can visit my website at www.brittreuter.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Nutrition Brit. Today, my guest is my friend and colleague, Aimee Hockett. Aimee has a Master's of Science in Clinical Nutrition from Maryland University of Integrative Health. Her unique background in philosophy and anthropology allows her to focus on different cultures of eating and wellness, relating that to the individual. It's through a functional medicine lens that she goes deep with her clients, and she helps them to pinpoint the root causes of their imbalances. Aimee's approach allows her to go deep with clients beyond just eating healthy by actually creating a complete wellness lifestyle. She's located in Hudson, New York, and she sees clients locally as well as virtually via webcam and phone. Welcome, Aimee.
Hi. Super
Hi.
excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining me and us today. So I just wanted to get started by asking you to share a little bit about how you discovered nutrition as a career. What is it that led you to study that?
So I think this is a conversation I always love because I feel like I've always been destined for this job. I realized a couple of years ago at my grandparents' funerals that a lot of my siblings learned to cook and learned to be in the kitchen just as a family through my grandfather. My mom is one of seven, so all of her siblings that love to cook really got their children involved in the kitchen and cooking, and they grew up in California, so there's a lot of wellness involved in that. So I think I've always just been in the kitchen. I knew I wanted to pursue some kind of science or culinary degree when I went to college, and I actually looked at nutrition as well as culinary school, but decided after my education in high school that I really wanted to focus more on what I was not so good at, which was reading and writing and just finding more in poetry and stuff like that. So I ended up going to college for, just figuring that out and figuring out really what I wanted to do because, being 18, I really wasn't sure exactly I was ready to make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
And what I decided when I was in college that while I loved focusing on culture and reading and just the basics of what it means to be a human being and have thoughts about being a human being, I realized that everything always tied back to health and wellness and our health systems and just like the conversations we have about eating and the cultures of eating. So I really focused a lot of my self-led projects on it. And I ended up having some sort of open house that I went to, that I was invited to at the master school I went to. And I just sort of became like really enamored with the things they were saying and how much it tied into my education in college. So I found my way back to nutrition and I was like, wow, this is really validating. Like I thought about doing this as an undergrad, but here I am now and I like really strongly want to do this still. So that's why I pursued it. And all the while I had gotten mono when I was in college. So I was really sick. And in my senior year, I had gotten some other virus and I had been really sick. And during that time, I was so miserable. I just remember laying in my bed thinking to myself, somebody please save me. Somebody help me. I really can't believe how much I'm suffering. And I really want to do something about this so that nobody else has to feel what I'm feeling right now. It was a really extreme, like monumental shift. So after going to so many doctors and not getting the answers I wanted, I decided, okay, well, going into this graduate program will help me help people, but it also helped me help myself. And that's really what I needed. It was sort of a mixed storm of like wanting to find myself and just learn about all of the topics I loved growing up, like science and cooking and art. And it's amazing, you know, along the way in my graduate program, I discovered blogging and food photography, and I had taken years of photography in like high school and college. So I was like, everything just fit together. And I was like, well, I get to have creativity. I get to focus on science. I get to teach people about food. And it's just like a perfect storm of like everything I loved to do my entire life into one job. So it just kind of made sense.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I love it. Like when the stars just seem to align and it just feels so good, like so validating, like you're saying, to just like doors open up, like things just fall into place and you just feel so good about the path that you're following.
Yeah, there's nothing better than finding yourself and, you know, what you've been doing all along.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of biased myself, but I feel like the best practitioners always have like some sort of personal story or personal health struggle that led them into the industry. Because I think that that just like infuses your practice with just so much more empathy and relatability, which I think is something that clients really crave.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's such a good story. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, tell us what type of clients it is that you're most passionate about serving. Is there specific issues or concerns that you come across that get you especially energized?
Well, we were just talking about this between us a few minutes ago, but I think I tend to attract a lot of people with like multiple health conditions or a lot of different concerns, like many different systems, you know, with different symptoms going on. And I really like helping people just figure out the root cause. But my biggest passion is working with women, especially who really want a better understanding of how their whole body is working. So, you know, maybe you just want to eat healthier, or maybe you have a couple of health conditions, but what I'm finding is like the most common type of client that I work with is women with hormonal imbalances, digestive issues, just so many different problems, but focusing in on how they connect and not just like, okay, well, let's take this for your digestive health problem. It's really like everything is one system. So we've got to focus in on that. And remembering, you know, going back to my background in philosophy and having consciousness, you don't just have thoughts about your symptoms. Your brain is keeping tally of them all the time when you're not even thinking about them. So you have to connect those two voices of your unconscious self and your conscious self and really, you know, I love working with people who want to have that understanding of their body and their self and just have like a total mind-body connection.
Yeah, that's such a good way to look at it too, because I think, you know, and probably you and I can relate, you know, having been on this like health journey for a long time, we remember what it's like to have that, you know, earlier perspective before, you know, we've learned as much as we have now, where, you know, you kind of just assume that everything is separate. You know, it's like I've got PMS going on over here, I've got IBS going on over here, I've got migraines happening over here, I've got acne happening over here. But, you know, they're really not in those buckets like you're saying. It's like one big bucket because, you know, it's all interrelated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was, you know, raised out of our health system, like you were just saying, like, oh, I have this symptom and I have that symptom. It's because when we experience the symptom, our body only wants us to have one signal at a time. So we hear it loud and clear. And when that happens, we just think, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. And we don't actually realize that like one symptom can cascade onto another and that we're not necessarily experiencing them all at the same time because our body is trying to send those warning signals in each place loud and clear enough. But then we get lost in translation and think that they're not related.
Yeah, because it's like a migraine issue isn't necessarily like a head issue. Sometimes it's a gut issue. You know, maybe you've got some leaky gut and some food sensitivities going on there, some gut dysbiosis. And so, you know, even though, like you're saying, like in like, just through like Western medicine, there's that very symptom-based approach. We're taught to think like, I have a migraine, like, therefore I need to go get some Excedrin, to address this migraine. That's the issue. It's like, no, like, that's your body reaching out and saying like, hello, some gut issues going on here. But it's just such a funny, like, a bit counterintuitive until you get into it. And then you're like, oh, this is actually really intuitive.
And the thing I think that is so obvious that nobody ever connects is that if you're having inflammation like in your brain and you have a migraine, we think that that inflammation is just there in that one place. But if you take an anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen, it's supposed to be anti-inflammatory systemically. So when that's the case, that means your inflammation is also systemic and not just in the one place you're experiencing it.
I love how you broke that down, because I feel like that just takes like what we said, which maybe, earlier, which maybe, sounds like a bit, complex, and just really simplified it, because we've all taken ibuprofen in response to that headache, while thinking it's in, it's something located in this region, like, oh, my temples are throbbing, like, I'm going to take ibuprofen to address my throbbing temples. But like you said, it's like that is a systemic anti-inflammatory. So it just proves your point. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like your inflammation cascade is one cascade. We don't have different inflammation cascades throughout our different bodies, just one biochemical process.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a little science lesson today for everybody watching this. Biochem 101.
Yes.
I
love it.
Yeah. So I know you've been working with clients, for a couple of years now. Is there a client story that stands out to you that you can share with us?
So my very first client, I just love working with her. We hit it off right off the bat, but I want to say that it's been an interesting journey with her and me, because, she was my very first client. And when I started working with her, there was so much that I had no idea about, having a nutrition practice, guiding people. They really, give you a crash course, but it is another thing to see somebody for over a year and really work with them like back and forth consistently, and not only just learning how to hold the sessions, but it's really like going in with her and learning about her life. And she's a real person and a real case, and it's been such an amazing journey because she has taken so much time and learning, and we've both taken a step back at different points, but when she comes back to me, she remembers like, okay, this, my next door neighbor is really inspiring. She grows her own food and she has so much energy, and I just don't understand. It's like she's like a poster child of like being like holistically well. She's like, that inspires me so much. And the thing that I think really I love about her is that she recognizes that her inspiration isn't like a negative thing. It's sort of like, I want to be like that and I will do what I have to get there, but I don't feel badly for not already knowing what she knows. It's like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen. I'm going to put in the work. And for example, she was having a hard time, she works 12 hours a day. So she has like 2 hours to herself when she gets home. And most of that time is chores, eating, all these activities that we have to do to be well. But she still carved out time, and she had some boundary issues with her family because she's so busy that when she gets home, it's like they don't want to talk and socialize with her. And she's like, look, I'm taking this desk from here, I'm putting it in my bedroom, putting it in this one spot. This is my spot. I'm closing the door, I'm locking the door, I'm putting headphones on, and I am going to learn about health and wellness so that I can be the person that I see next door every day, because I want that life and I want to be healthy like she is. So it's amazing to me that every excuse that she's had for why she didn't succeed, she did something about it. And not everybody can say that. Is, she didn't change everything in her life. She's still living within her means of her lifestyle and her normal routines. She just found a more practical way to do it. Mm-hmm. And everyone thinks that to be healthy and to be, based in wellness or have a wellness focused lifestyle, that you need to change everything. No, you can live your own life. You just need to tweak a couple of things. And she really took ownership of the things that she realized oh, I need to stop letting these people in on my very precious time for myself. So I, did that work. I separated my time, my space, and, I recognize where I'm falling short. So
Wow.
that's really been inspiring for me to see her put that in and really harness that mind-body connection and just have a motivation for it. 90% of it is showing up, but the other 10% is not getting in your own way.
Yeah, that is so cool because I just love how like her attitude like allows her to take action, versus that paralysis that we can feel when we, compare ourselves to other people. It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. I can tell like from what you've said that your client experiences joy and she enjoys learning, about health and wellness. This is how she practices self-care, is by setting those boundaries and dedicating herself to learning more about, the stuff that you're helping her to grasp. And I think that's so commendable. I can't say that I've always been there myself, because I feel like I've fallen into the comparison trap. So I'm taking a lot of inspiration from her story too.
Yeah, and I think too, part of it is like she recognizes that some of the lessons she was learning were like way out of her understanding. Like, I gave her a whole packet on detox and I said, hey, I don't expect you to learn everything in here. I don't expect you to read every single thing in here. She's like, no, but I want to learn it. And I understand that if I learn it once, then I know it. And if I forget, I can go back and relearn it, but it will be easier because I've already exposed myself to that material. And once I've done so much work and I've taken so much of my time now, that later on, if I need to refresh my memory, it won't take nearly as long. And all of these things that I've tried to set in place will just become second nature.
I mean, she sounds like an optimist, like a natural born optimist, which is a wonderful quality in any person, and maybe especially a client.
Well, I think that's something she's worked on. Like
Yeah.
when we first started working together, it definitely wasn't the case. Like I think it's something she's worked on. And somebody said to me recently, everyone has their own changes of life, and recently had some bad news in my life. And somebody said, just be obsessively grateful, because the more you do that, the more things will turn around and you'll get what you're looking for. And maybe this just wasn't the right thing. So I think that's what she's sort of learning, is just like be obsessively grateful for what you do have and keep pushing forward.
Wow. Yeah, that's so powerful. I saw a post earlier today. I think Dr. Mark Hyman posted about it, how talking about gratitude and about how it impacts like our immune function, and how, all the cells in our body are like listening to our thoughts. So like there's even more like whole other layer of like an incentive to be grateful and, to practice that attitude of gratitude, which is such a corny thing to say. But yeah, I mean, and like you're saying, I mean, that's so cool that she wasn't even, maybe a natural born, optimist, like what I was, kind of hinting at, but that she's worked at it. It kind of gives all of us hope.
No, I think you're right. And there's truth in that, we're saying that your organs don't just exist in one place. Your symptoms don't just exist in one place. Your thoughts don't just exist in your head. They become chemicals that get fed through the rest of your body. And when you are constantly thinking, I am nourished, I am happy, I'm whole, like your brain will literally pump that into your organs and make them more nourished than if you were just to be negative and eat all of the healthy food.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like that you aren't what you eat, you are what you digest. And just having that right attitude, just like it's going to change even like how you're interacting with your diet.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of what informs your whole approach, that you are like wellness lifestyle, focus, where you're not just like, yeah, go eat this salad. You're just like, let's like mix it up from like from the ground up, like just like rebuild this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, and so important. So I'm so glad that you do the work that you do.
Yeah, I know. I think there's not enough of us, and I know you definitely focus on that as well. And it's, it's not just about instructing to eat healthy. It's, feed yourself healthy thoughts, feed yourself happy thoughts, and be, obsessively grateful for just life itself.
That's going to be definitely a featured quote when this gets published. That is just so great. I love that. Okay, so I want to throw some rapid fire questions at you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I piped it up too much now. No. She's ready. All right. Favorite supplement?
So I had a hard time thinking about this before, but I chose Innate Response multivitamin, one daily. So I like it because the brand is really good. Everyone talks about adaptogens, all these different vitamins, but as a practitioner, I get online and I see literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of medical grade supplements that are really good quality. And I'm just like, I don't know what that one does. I don't know what that one does, because there are just so many of them. But I find that most people, they're really slacking in their choice of multivitamin, and they're going to say, oh, I eat plenty of fruits and vegetables and I take all these adaptogens and I drink all this tea. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just not enough. Our soil is massively depleted. And if you want to be healthy, if you want to achieve your health goals, a lot of people will come to me for weight loss, and I say, okay, you can do this like really nutrient depleting plan, or you can just give yourself enough nutrients and your body's going to be like, great, we have what we need, we're ready to lose weight. So I chose this as my favorite vitamin because I recommend it a ton. I find that everybody that comes to me that takes a multivitamin, their choice is really poor, and it's not overly expensive. They do add herbs in there, so for women's health, it really does support you more than just giving you quality nutrients. It does take into account like a lot of typical widespread problems in our country's health for women. So that's why I love it, because it really does take into account, our culture and our widespread social need, and not just like, oh, everybody needs vitamins.
Yeah. It's more tailored, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. What is your favorite midday snack?
Midday snack. This changes probably every season, every week, every month, but the one constant is probably chocolate because I can never get enough chocolate. So if I don't have a snack that I'm like obsessed with, then it's usually just my go-to chocolate.
I had a cousin growing up who did not like chocolate, and I remember as a kid being very confused by this.
Yeah. I've met a few people who are like, I just don't like chocolate. And I'm like, more for me.
Yeah. Like, well, then I'm not coming to your birthday party because I don't want your vanilla cake. Sorry. So boring.
I know. Chocolate is life.
Yeah. I'll come over to your house for some snacks. That sounds delicious. Yeah. What's your favorite road trip food?
Probably Larabars or Simple Mills, just because they're more nourishing. They go with so many different things. They're easy to grab and go. And now they're like so popular that you can find them even in gas stations. So that makes me happy, is I can find it when like if things don't go well and like my fresh fruit gets smashed in the car or something, like it's always there. And I'm it makes me happy to see that the food industry is growing in a way that allows for different types of eating if you have food allergies like myself. So it makes me feel secure to have like the Larabars and like the Simple Mills, because I know it's a little bit more nutrient dense than like the crackers I used to choose when I didn't know so much about healthy eating. So
I'm just curious what your favorite one of your favorite Larabar flavors are, because I love those too.
I like the chocolate chip cookie dough.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I think that that one's my favorite.
I love the mint chocolate chip one.
I haven't tried that one. The carrot cake one's good.
Oh my God, that one's really good too, yeah. And banana bread, that's also really good, cashew cookie, like they're all good. I eat them all.
Yeah, they're all good.
Oh yeah, they're delicious. What's your favorite remedy?
So I really like herbal medicine, but again, we were talking earlier that people really abuse it. And
Yeah.
the thing that, people fail to recognize is that like Eastern medicine is like a new age thing in the Western world, but like Eastern medicine and Chinese herbal medicine is more like just has years on the modern medical model, and it's ancient knowledge at this point, and there's a lot that goes into choosing what's right for a person. An herbalist is going to know, like, you don't choose these two together, you don't, if this person has this problem, you don't choose that. And so people are just over prescribing herbs. But personally, I found that like tinctures like lavender or catnip, some of these things that are more accessible, something you can make at your in your own kitchen, I really find them to be powerful for relaxation. So in my health history, I have depression and like severe anxiety. So one thing that really helped me was like a lavender tincture, as opposed to just using essential oils or taking like lavender tablets. I found that actually like drinking it really kind of soothes the whole system. And that goes back to like having digestive health issues and like abdominal spazzing, and just having something to calm the whole system really has worked for me. So those are my favorites for like anxiety or stress or not being able to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so interesting too. Like that you noticed a difference between a tincture and like the capsule form or even just like the aromatherapy form. It makes sense, but it's like I never would have thought about that.
Yeah, and it too, like more powerful for me to do that hands-on, like when the symptom arises, as opposed to like, you know, going through and taking like 10 adaptogens every day, hoping to reduce my stress. It's sort of like, here's the episode of stress. I know why it's bothering me. I'm really focusing on the why in the lifestyle aspect, and then just doing something mild that is more like culinary based, like the lavender, and just using that as like a symptom management for the time being. So, yeah.
That kind of reminds me what you said about the overuse of botanicals. I'm curious what you would think about this. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there was an ad on Instagram, and I think it was by Gaia Herbs, and it was for their elderberry syrup, which has really specific uses. Like people think it's like good for anything, but it's like, well, there's really specific application. They were advertising that you should eat it on ice cream. What do you think of that?
I think that's amazing. I instruct all of my clients that if, there's an herb or something that you like that can be used in a culinary application,
Do that.
that's going to be more nourishing for you than just like, taking a pill. I had a client ask me, he's like, well, I need to get more fiber. So I was thinking about just like taking some brand supplements. And I said, well, your body's not going to recognize that you're putting that fiber in as food, and it's not going to do anything for you. When you put it in an eating setting, your brain maximizes the power, because there are, it's a huge chain of events that your brain goes through when you're eating that involves so many more, enzymes and organs to like actively absorb these nutrients. Whereas if you're just taking a pill, your brain's like not sure what's coming at it.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. Maybe you're not in that place to really make the most of it.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, you're just kind of wasting your money and hoping something sticks.
I don't like wasting money, so. Well, this has just been such a blast, so much fun. Where can people who are watching this learn more about you and connect with you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I have loved doing this. It's been such a blast. So you can find me at www.theakkitchen.com. So my initials are AK. And you can find me with the same handle on Instagram. It's the AK Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. So I share a ton of free resources, mindfulness tips, and right now I do have my Mindfulness Journal handouts available for free for a limited time. So you
Wow.
can check that out on my website. Definitely want to make sure you download it because it is much more than just like meditation techniques. It's like a serious mindful eating, sitting down and connecting your mind with your body in the process of eating and grocery shopping and all of that good stuff.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those resources with all of us. I feel like you'll see a spike in your web traffic after
Yeah,
this.
I hope so.
way
They're,
to way
they're
to
really
sell
good journals, and I use them myself sometimes when I'm not feeling good, like, what's going on? Let me sit down and really think about this. So I really created it out of my own need, but I decided, okay, this actually is helping people, so I'm gonna share it.
I love that. Yeah, I always use like my resources too, where I go back to my blogs, like, oh, this is some good stuff. Who wrote this? Oh, wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of why I started the blog too, is like people are asking me so many questions and I keep answering them. Like, let me just put it all down because I can't remember all of this every single time. So
I know.
definitely got to make use of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's so efficient of you, Amy. So smart.
Thank you.
Okay, well, this has just been so great. Thank you so much again. That's it for this edition of Women in Wellness. Thanks again to Aimee Hockett for joining me here today. And thank you to all of you for sharing this conversation with us.